Hey friends, welcome to the Classroom SLP. Long time no see. So I want to talk to you a little bit more about visual supports. I know the last time we talked it was about a behavior management system that I use in my classroom, and I thought what better place to do it than actually where I use it in my classroom. So I have a lanyard on with all of my visual supports that I use in the classroom, and I want to share some things with you. So let's do this. So welcome back to the Classroom SLP. This is Mercy, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the use of visual supports in and outside of the classroom setting. I am a speech-language pathologist by trade, if you don't know that by now, and I also run a classroom, a preschool classroom with typical children. Some of them do have some needs, but they're usually neurotypical children that I see here in my classroom. So welcome. I wanted to talk to you about the importance of the use of visual supports with neurotypical children and children who have neurological and developmental needs. So let's just kind of start at the beginning. Let's talk about behavior first. So when you think of the term behavior, everybody gets kind of like a deer in the headlights look, like behavior. It must be bad, right? Well, behavior in and of itself is anything you do or say. So it's not in itself bad or good. Most behavior is communicative. So as a speech-language pathologist, I'm super interested in behavior because children who have a difficulty communicating, and most young children, whether they have speech-language difficulties or not, haven't finessed the art of communication, the command of the English language very well. So this is why we're getting them in a socializing kind of setting. So all people use challenging behavior to meet their needs at one point or another, but children kind of will do that. So maybe that's why behavior, the term, has gotten a bad rap. So we'll talk about behavior just briefly because that's a whole video in itself. So we won't go into all the types of behavior. There are 4 or 5 categories that I would probably speak about in a different video. But basically we look at things from the perspective in a classroom setting as a teacher. What is going to trigger a behavior? What sets up a behavior? What sets off a behavior? What strengthens a behavior? And usually the thing that we can do is prevent behaviors. And how we do that is through visual supports, leveling the playing field, knowing that everybody has to abide by certain guidelines in the classroom, and we can do this very easily through visuals. Children respond so well to these things, typical and not typical children. So let's talk about some of them that I use. So you want to ask, what are visual supports? Simply put, visual supports are a way of making auditory information, like directions, things of that nature, visual. We do this in life all the time. We have visuals as adults when we're driving. We have to follow road signs, or we're supposed to. We have to follow directions. Maybe you're at the doctor's office. You have to follow a map into the building. We use visuals as a guide for us through life. So they are a universal language. So pictures speak 1,000 words, literally. So instead of saying 1,000 words to a child who cannot process all of that information, it's just easy to know what's expected when you hold a visual up. So simply put, visual supports are a way of making auditory information visual that everybody can see. So children who are in a classroom setting, there are fleeting directions. There's sometimes huge transitions that happen in the classroom. And if a child does have special needs, basically the simplest directions can come and go too quickly for them to process auditorily. So a visual support really can aid a child understanding the message. All children, refer to badge. So that's why we use them. And when we present information verbally, the words are available just for a brief moment. A visual can stay up there on the wall. It can be, on your lanyard. These things are available. And my lights just went off. Hold on a second. Visual supports are also great because it can break a task down into smaller steps for children who have difficulty with sequencing things, such as a task of getting your coat on. First you get your coat, then you put one arm in, etc. You can create visual pictures for a child to follow, washing hands, toileting. We have tons of pictures in my classroom, and I can show you examples. But this is what we call evidence-based practice. There's evidence to support using visuals with younger children because a great majority of what they hear, they do not hear with their brain. They do not process it, especially amidst an environment that is not in a one-on-one setting where there are multiple children, multiple things going on at once. We need attention grabbers. So I love visuals for that reason because it grabs everybody's attention. You can start with an auditory cue, but I always refer to visuals because it helps children. And I'm not constantly repeating myself and the noise level in the classroom is going up and up and up. That doesn't solve everything or anything at all. So I really like using visuals for that reason as well. So Mercy, what are the types of visual supports that you can use in their classroom? Well, we have tons, but I can name some that we do. We have behavioral reminders, which I have on my lanyard. I can show you some of those. We have direction following cards. We have a calendar. We have a classroom schedule. We have weather charts. We also use like I mentioned, in the potty, in the toilet, we have breakdown of steps of what we have to do. We have a mirror that they do a body check before they leave the bathroom, and then posted where they wash their hands, there's a visual of how to wash our hands and what order and what steps. So we use visual supports all the time, and I use them a lot in classroom management, being behavior cards or just reminders kind of on this lanyard, and I will go over a lot of those with you. So I'm going to take you over to our circle time carpet, and this is the first visual that the children are introduced to in the classroom. We have a schedule, a visual schedule. Let me flip the camera around for you to see this. Hold on a second. So this is our classroom schedule. Children arrive, they actually immediately go into their tabletop activity, and during that tabletop time we toilet the children. I work with 3 and 4-year-olds, so that's important. Then we clean up our activity, we go to a circle time, then we have some centers that relate to a theme that we have each week. Then we do a gross motor time, we have our snack, we kind of do a closing circle, and then we have dismissal. So that's a visual schedule that I provide, and it helps children navigate the day so much better. And during that visual schedule, we are kind of helping children regulate. We do that by offering to use, excuse our room here, I'm just in here. Trying to clean up a little bit. We also use a time timer, which is a visual timer. So say we are at tabletop. Usually it takes us about 15-20 minutes for everybody to toilet. So we have a really engaging activity that they can do independently, like Play-Doh, and then they'll tell me, oh, I'm done. Well, no, Miss Mercy, and somebody will let you know when you're done. We still have, oh look, we have more time in our time timer. It's red. You have 15 more minutes. And so after everybody's done and it beeps, the red disappears, they know it's time to sing the cleanup song, clean up your tabletop, and then wait at the tables for the next visual I'm going to show them. After it beeps, after the timer beeps, I tell everybody I'm looking for a quiet voice, ready hands, and eyes on teacher. And we sing a little song, quiet voice, ready hands, eyes on teacher. And then I look for kids with a quiet voice, ready hands, eyes on teacher, and I hold up one of these crayons that has a name on it, and then I say, oh, I see somebody, I see Briley, who has quiet voice, ready hands, eyes on teacher. And then I tell them specifically with my little magic carpet oh, Riley, you can come sit on the ball, or I'll describe the ball. There's something that's round that bounces. You can come crisscross applesauce on that. And I will show them what they have to do, how they sit. Crisscross applesauce, hands on lap. And then they get, in my class, they get a tricky pretzel. Gotta get some more pretzels. So we reinforce all that. At circle time, we go over the calendar. We go over the weather, the temperature, and I mirror my weather app to the screen because I have an Apple TV in the classroom. You guys might have like a smart board or something. So we do our What's the Weather song and they tell me the weather. And we spin our weather wheel and we pick up any other extra accoutrement in terms of weather and stick it on there with those Velcro have a little Velcro cloud and some other precipitation and random things that have to do with the weather. So my weather helper helps me with that. The other visual that we use as a part of our routine, during circle time we talk about our jobs and we have all sorts of helpers. We have a weather helper, a scarf helper, and we use scarves for when we sing songs, certain songs, a light helper, table wiper helpers, placemat helper, a prayer helper. I run a Christian nursery school, preschool, a sweeper helper, a dish helper. I mean, these kids love their jobs. So I take a picture at the beginning of the year, and if their head shot is near that job on the board, they know that's their job for the day. So that's really cool. Another visual support that we use in the classroom, and I won't reference this too much, is our Happy Face positive behavior support system that I use. For each transition a child completes in the classroom, they receive one happy face on their chart, and usually there's 3 big transitions during our day, and if they get the 3 happy faces, they receive a smelly stick, which is like a scented chapstick, like Pepsi Cola or like a candy flavor, and we swish it on their hand and it smells really good. So they get a reward for 3 happy faces. Each week we have a different theme at preschool each week, and we have 2 tabletop tables typically. We don't have more than 12 kids in a session, but and I hang each week like a little bit of a decoration over each of these tabletop tables, and this week we are talking about squares, all things square. So we sing our theme of the week song at circle, and then we look with our pretend binoculars or telescope and we look over at these pictures, and kids raise their hand and they tell me what they think the theme of the week is, and most of them guessed the square, so I did good with this one. So a lot of these that I'm showing you are just environmental visual supports to support literacy and guide children to navigate their day well. We have placemats that I make for each child at the beginning of the year. They have the sign language for their name, the first letter of their name, and subsequent little objects that they actually begin with the letter that their first name starts with. So for Bryce we have book, ball, butterfly, and they can actually finger trace these. They love having their own placemat, and they recognize their name for snack where they're seated. So that supports them in the classroom. I'm getting super private. We're going in the bathroom. This is our little bathroom. Just a little hot tip. This is off the topic, but I do end up hanging a mirror about kiddo height right here. And what I found is that when little boys look at themselves in the mirror, they don't turn around and you don't have a peeing to clean up. You can figure that out, but a lot of times they'll just kind of spin around and there's pee everywhere. They focus on themselves, smile, and they pee right in the potty. I don't know, just happenstance upon that, so that's free, no charge. But once they're on the potty, if they have to sit, we have visuals for sit, wait, and I have a time timer and quiet voice. And they can ask for help, they know that too, so that's one visual. The other visual is usually the door is shut when they go potty, and if they need additional help, that's fine. And then we have our sequence of sound. Pull down bottoms, we go potty, then we wipe, we pull our bottoms up, we flush the toilet, and then they know, oh, wash hands, and then there's a mirror where we do our body check. And so they see a stop sign, they have to stop and see, are my pants up? Do I look happy? Am I happy? And so they know that before they open the door, they have to do body check, and then they come right out here and go to sync, and there's more visuals on the wall that you can't see. So that's how we do our holiday. So what I just did is actually a room tour, but showed you the environmental supports, at least most of them, that we use as visual supports to guide children through the day and to navigate that day successfully by breaking down steps, providing visual directions, and some things that we can use for redirection. So there are going to be those instances where you have to provide redirection for a child, or you have to help them process what's going on. And this is where the lanyard comes in. The lanyard, basically, I have a long lanyard, and then I have individual, let me take one off so you can see it, individual categorized visuals on here for different purposes. This one basically is for my children that may have some language processing issues or maybe some expressive language issues on this particular visual. And I will pull these off if I just need them for a particular task in a classroom with a particular child. But usually I just keep them on my lanyard and I know where everything is because they're categorized. But I have a yes/no board. Now this is like gold because if a child is nonverbal, I've had really low functioning children use these and they can tell me yes or no like 100%. So giving children the opportunity to make the choices that other children can in the classroom when they're not verbal or they can't process. You see a lot of frustration with children who can't communicate to you either because A, they're nonverbal or they just can't process, and this is gold. So I'll say, Joey, do you like cookies? Most kids are going to tell you yes. Or do you like pears? No. So I can offer a choice. We have pears or cookies, and they will show me yes or no for the ones that are the choice. You can also use this as a cue. This is a weight card. Now all you speechies probably have one of these, but I use this in my classroom a lot. A lot of times I don't have time for them to process even a visual, and all of my kids know what this means. Freeze. Freeze and wait. Freeze, please. You know? So this just means like, hold on, wait. And that is something that is really helpful because you might not have time to tell them something's going to happen. You can see it before it happens. So this is really good to have. Let me grab another one. So these are like on one that I keep. Another one that I have a big one that holds all this, big circle one. And these are on 2, which is very helpful so you don't wear out the whole. Just a little tip for you. These ones basically offer a little bit of redirection. So these are some of the ones I have depending on the situation, but some of the ones I will tell them, give them a 2-minute warning. Time is almost up. Look at the time timer. You can see it over there. There's the time timer. There's still red. We have 2 more minutes, like a 2-minute warning. But I'll show individuals that maybe just aren't processing. I'll look at timer. Time's almost up. Do your work. That means you're not done. Go back to table task. I have another one. They can ask for a break. And this is contingent upon if it's appropriate time for a break, but my kids who have some processing, my battery's going, processing issues, they know how to ask for a break. Line up, visual. We're walking in a line. Look at teacher. Personal space, hands to self. And those are just a few of them. My kids know what all these mean. Use your sneeze pocket, cough or sneeze in your elbow, raise your hand, hands and feet to self, sit in chair, stand up, hands in lap, crisscross applesauce to sit on the floor. Now here's a good one, stop. That's a little firmer than wait. Stop means absolutely stop everything you're doing. And kids know these. And they hear this a lot from me. I don't say no a lot, and we can go into that in another video when we talk about behavior. I made this visual my very own self on PicMonkey. It's not a choice, so kids will try to exercise their right to choose something that's not a choice. So I will say, they'll tell me, well, I'm all done. Not a choice. You can sit down, or Miss Mercy can help you sit down and finish, but that's not a choice right now. So those are all on one little lanyard. These are basically commands. Now, when we're doing this, initially when I present at the beginning of the year these visuals, you say, Mercy, you're presenting visuals and you're talking. Well, until they know these, I kind of tell them what they mean, and we play a little game like, okay, Miss Mercy's going to get out her badge like the police officer in the classroom, and we have to show our badge. What does, Miss Mercy wants you to do? What does this mean? Not a choice. What's that mean? Stop. And they all say, but at this juncture of the year, it's like November, I just need to show these, and they are ready to go. They know. And they immediately, even friends that have, some difficulty with directions, positive peer pressure, they're like, Joey, you need to sit on the floor. Usually these work pretty well. So I minimize my verbal and I use the visual. Maybe verbalize once, sit on floor, but I don't repeat myself 100 times. Sit on floor, because that kind of takes away the point of using a visual. I just go directly, very quietly, no affect, and just show them. So that's what we do. Hold on, here's a couple more. That was one lanyard. And then we have my 3 go-to standby rules that if a child does this throughout most of the day, they're golden. They're gonna make it. They're gonna get those 3 happy faces. So we have quiet voice. We talk about conversational tone a lot. Ready hands. So eyes on teacher. So if a child needs redirection, if you just even have these on your wrist at all times, super helpful if you don't like the lanyard, because if a child is yelling at me and I'm right next to them, I'm like, oh, and they immediately, their vocal volume kind of goes down. I'm next to you. You don't need to yell. It's an inside voice I need. I need quiet voice. If a child is using their hands on another friend, even in a friendly way, or if they're touching something they shouldn't be doing, I say, oh, ready hands. And they know immediately. Hands are folded. If they're not paying attention, I usually try to redirect them with eyes on teacher or eyes on whatever, so just have my little eyeballs right here. So these visuals are super, super helpful in the classroom. There's a lot of research behind it, and once you think, it's such a pain to use, but once you use them on a regular basis, they are like magic. Kids love it. They love you to get your badge out and show them and redirect them because they feel like, oh, I understand, So I think these are appropriate for any preschool classroom setting. We can go into more detail on why these are super important to use with special needs children. It's like a lifeline. You have to excuse the lights because they automatically go off in here. Maybe that's my visual to stop. But I wanted to show you all the visuals that we use in our typical preschool classroom and how they work. They really, really work. Just today, one of our little people, that's the doorbell, for another classroom, not ours. One of our little people, I won't say her name, but she's a squirmy wormy. She likes to W sit, reverse Taylor, and she's just all over the place, and she has a little wiggle cushion and she can sit. But when I show her this visual, her whole face lights up. She can understand, and she loves that she has something to attend to visually because she's very distractible. So these work with all kinds of kids. The other thing that is really helpful when you use a visual is that positive peer pressure I kind of referred to earlier in the video. The other children help redirect the other children. So it's really cool because they're like, oh, Miss Mercy said, crisscross applesauce, and they're all kind of the crisscross applesauce. They're using their quiet voice to tell friends. It's super cute. So I have some really well-behaved children. This year, I've had some firecrackers over the years, but these have been a lifeline. So this is the Classroom SLP. If you'd like to see more videos on how to use visual supports with special needs children, or just how to use them maybe in the home, there are tons more. I'm just using a small portion of them to show you. They really can help you, especially if you're trying to potty train, if you're trying to have a child go to bed early, if you're having trouble getting your child to go to bed. I have lots of different things that you can try and tips and tricks. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please hit subscribe. Yell back to me in the comments, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Have happy days and give the Lord praise. This is the Classroom SLP, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.